Guess who's back? It's been a while, huh? Yeah, sorry for the hiatus, but I was on vacation, and vacation means no work. And doing these videos, honestly, is work. It's enjoyable, but it's still work. And I'm not gonna, make my vacation more stressful trying to get these things out. So, here we are. Got a lot to catch up on. I'm not really gonna go into too much detail about the vacation itself, because for weeks leading up to it, I in detail explained what I would be doing, and I didn't very much deviate from that plan except for in a few places. And I'll go over that briefly. Was not able to do the first camera lesson with Dez. She had something come up. And I was not able to do my suspension on my vehicle. So I'll be going back in mid-October to knock that out. The concert itself was super fun. I was in the mosh pit the entire time. Wore myself out, had a whole bunch of fun. When we were walking into the venue, there were signs on the wall that said no moshing. And I was like, yeah, fucking right. Of course I'm in a mosh pit. It's one of my favorite bands, and they haven't played in 20 years. It's probably might be one of the only times they play for the remainder of their career. So yeah, I'm fucking moshing. Zach and Jake had a really good time. We went to Chinatown, got some Korean barbecue. Zach's first time to Chicago. Hopefully it was great. He was only here for like a day, but we packed in a lot of stuff. Other than that, everything pretty much went as planned. The wedding was beautiful. I've got that key hanging up right here. Randy. It was great seeing a lot of my old friends that I haven't seen since we all used to basically live together at the Kirk Levington apartments. There used to be a lot of us like packed between two apartments, because what had happened is I broke up with my girlfriend Chelsea at the time, and this was probably 2016. Yeah, that sounds accurate. And I moved in with Jake, and he was living there with his roommates Dane and Ryan. Ryan's whose wedding we just went to. And there was a fight out in the street while we were living there, and I went out to go see what was going on. And then all of a sudden, standing next to me is this guy named Trey Bivens. And me and him were in the same Marine Corps unit. And I just thought it was such a small world. He's standing right here next to me. I was like, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? Where do you live? And he goes, right there. I think, I live right here. We were literally apartments right next to each other, or across this like little breezeway. And then the rest is history. Basically, for the next few years, it was basically a bunch of people moving in, and both of those apartments basically coagulated into one big apartment, and there's just people going back and forth between them all the time. We threw a bunch of parties, had a whole lot of degeneracy going on. But yeah, basically almost everyone who was a part of that experience was at the wedding, minus a few notable people. But it was a grand old time. Of course, it made it that much worse, like getting back to Illinois and going immediately back into working 16-hour days. Like after being on vacation for a week. Like coming back from vacation and going to a regular 9-to-5 is one thing, but I didn't even think about, since I've doubled my workload, how much worse it was going to be. And it took the whole week basically for me to adjust. On my way back into town, Sunday, I ended up having to call into work Monday morning at my day shift job. Basically because I was so exhausted from the week I had packing it with every possible person and thing that I could possibly do, that on my last 2.5 hour stretch, I kept falling asleep at the wheel. So I had to pull over at a rest stop and sleep until the next morning. And then on my way back into Chicago, right before you cross into Illinois, there's a farm in Indiana, and I want to say it was called Fairfield Farm or something, but I went to a restaurant there that they had at the farm, and it was really, really good. I got a Cuban sandwich and a cup of chili, and I think one other thing, but it's escaping my mind right now. But it was really, really good. If you're ever coming up this way, shoot me a message and let me know, and I will try and find the exact address so you can check it out for yourself. It was amazing. And then, of course, in the news cycle, there's the Ukrainian girl that got stabbed in the neck on the public transportation, and then there's the assassination of Charlie Kirk that just happened. And basically, just watching these events transpire and the way that people react to them on the internet is nauseating, in a sense, to the extent that I've decided that I'm going to delete my social media. I'm not deactivating my accounts or anything. I'm just taking a break, and I'm even taking it as far as, like, I'm not even going to be responding to text messages anymore until Christmas, basically. And it's not just because of those events, but it's made me realize how much more energy I could be putting into my goals, and how much I'm slacking and being distracted by, you know, things peripheral or auxiliary to what I'm trying to focus on doing. So I've decided to, you know, double my efforts in trying to get this thing off the ground. If you're an immediate family member, I'm still going to respond to you. If you don't fall into that category, you're probably not going to get a response back. Again, my phone will be on, and I'll have it on me in case of emergencies or whatnot. But I'm not going to be spending time scrolling through social media or having, you know, I don't want to sound offensive, but sort of like meaningless conversations with people. Because we live in an age of, like, instant communication, to where, like, the things that you say to people, they don't have to have any substance, because you get immediate gratification and immediate, you know, an immediate response to those things. You don't have to think about what you're saying. You can just say it, and if there's a mistake, you can address it immediately. So what I'm starting to do is encourage people to start writing me letters, because I want to see and kind of experiment with how conversations will change and how they'll be more, you know, thoughtful and substantive, because you always have that delay, you know, of, you know, the letter gets sent out, the person reads it, they respond, they send a letter back. And also, writing something out, I think, takes more mental energy than just typing, especially since typing is something that we do all day, every day anyway. It's become almost an unconscious process. So I think it's going to help me stay focused. And I think it's also going to be interesting to see, you know, how the relationships I have with people now will ultimately change, because maybe the quality of the conversations we're having will increase, or maybe putting this barrier or this inconvenience in the way will make some people stop talking to me altogether, and that'll be revealing. I'm not going to hold it against anyone, but if you go out of your way to still communicate with me, I'm going to appreciate it, and I'll know that, you know, you're willing to put in the effort. With all of that being said, and refocusing on my goals, I am cutting back spending even more. So I'm going to be going to less restaurants, doing less things, or rather, I'm going to be doing more things that don't cost any money, basically. Unless I'm already doing something in a place and there happens to be something there. What I'm saying is I'm not going to, on schedule, be going to 1, 2, 3 restaurants every weekend. I've had to reconfigure my diet a little bit, mainly because since my schedule has changed, and also my morning job, they don't allow you to eat on vehicles anymore. It used to be that I just used to eat my canned food while I was working. It was no issue, but people they provide snacks there. Let me say that first. They provide snacks, but it's all junk food. Like chips and, you know, mini donuts, granola bars, stuff like that. And what people will do is they'll eat these things and they'll leave the trash in the vehicle, or like there'll be a bunch of crumbs or like food debris on the vehicle. So we lost those privileges, which kind of sucks because I wasn't really taking advantage of any of those things that they offer. But whatever, you gotta adapt when you can. Also, I need to mention that we have a 1 hour lunch break at that job, but I usually spend it just sleeping in my car and taking a nap, which is it's pretty much needed. So the two things I was eating there was my canned chicken, or my meat, one of my meats, and then a can of vegetables. And the reason I was doing this is because those are the two things that I need a can opener to open. And when I could eat on the vehicle, I had enough time to open the can, drain it, get on the vehicle and eat it. But now that I'm having to eat off of the vehicle, I can't eat and work at the same time, but I don't want to eat during my lunch break and sacrifice that hour break where I sleep. So what I'm doing is I'm moving my items that don't require a can opener and are smaller portions and I can eat with my fingers, just like every other snack the job already provides. So I'm putting my nuts in these. I started off with mixed nuts, but I've just moved to cashews because I love cashews. And then my sardines, my raisins, and then I'm also adding Vienna sausages to my diet just to increase my calories a little bit with my workouts. I want to build more muscle. And I'll just be able to eat that stuff quickly when I'm on the ground between doing tasks that require me being on a vehicle. I can just eat them real quick while I check my emails or whatnot, and no one can say anything about it because everyone else gets to eat snacks who don't work on vehicles. And it's not like you can tell me that I don't get the same privileges as everyone else because I'm an operator. That doesn't make any sense, and I'm not having it. At my night job, what I'm going to be doing, since I have 3 breaks on my night job, but it's just a 30-minute lunch and a 15, which gives me 4 slots of work in between, basically. And what I'll be doing is on my other 4 meals, which will be my canned vegetables, my canned meat, my beans, which I already eat on my 30-minute lunch break because it requires me going to the kitchen, opening it, straining the beans, and rinsing them to get that slime off of them. And then I usually season them and put hot sauce on them too. And my canned fruit is usually what I start that shift off with. So I'll be eating all of that, almost all of it, other than the beans, while I'm on the vehicle. And I'm going to be opening them in my car on my brakes and straining them in the grass. Or sometimes I just drink the liquid because I'm eating the contents of the can anyway, and it's more convenient, honestly. And then I'll just eat those on the vehicle, and that'll be that. So I could still spend those breaks, those small breaks that I get, doing my small workouts instead of having to sacrifice my workouts to eat the food in my car. They don't really care about the food thing. And I take special notice to make sure that I put all of the cans that I eat in a sealable bag and I throw it directly in the dumpster instead of in a trash can or anywhere where it might attract, you know, rodents or insects. So since I'm going to be sacrificing more, you know, contemporary modern comfort, this weekend I decided to go a little, you know, off the wall. I basically went on a world tour of eating, and I'll explain all of that. I got off work at 2:30 p.m. So I ended up showering at the location at my job instead of going all the way to the gym in Lombard, which is not that far away. But my work does have a shower. It's just I'd never have enough time to use it because I used to get off at, you know, 9 p.m. at night on Friday, and access to that gym is closed at that point. But now that I got off at 2:30, I can just go straight to that gym for free and use it. And I don't have to travel. It's right there. So I did that. And someone had told me about a new Creole place that opened in Aurora, Illinois. And I'd never been there. So I decided to go check that out. And it was one of the best meals I've ever had. It was amazing. The staff were great. It was a place called Touche, I think. So if you're ever in the area, like, or nearby, like, if you have to drive an hour out of your way to go to it, for sure. But I got, let's see, I looked at the menu and everything looked so good that I ordered basically enough food for 2 people. I got 2 appetizers. I got boudin balls, which was a short rib and rice, little boudin balls, if you know what boudin is. It's like a sausage made with rice and meat. And that came with remoulade, and that was really good. And then I got the best crab cake I ever had in my life. And then for my main, I got a smash burger that came with an onion jam and Gruyere cheese, which is one of my favorites. And I got that with a side of jambalaya, which was amazing. And then as I was leaving to go, I got an order of gumbo and an order of jalapeno cornbread to eat in my car later. And then I tried a couple of their, cocktails, which were really good. The bartender would like make drinks and there'd be a little left over in the cup that wouldn't fit in the glass he was serving it, and he would just give that to me too. And then there's also this couple that was sitting at the bar, and it was their 21st anniversary. And they basically talked to me the entire night, and I ended up buying them a round of shots. Or I bought us all a round of shots for their anniversary. But the guy worked in like aerospace or something. And the conversation started off really weird because he was like, yeah, I work in aerospace. He's like, I know a bunch of secrets I can't tell you. And I would just be like, cool. And then there'd be a moment of silence, and then he'd be like, all right, check this out. And then he would just start telling me shit. I'm not going to repeat it here. But, basically embezzlement. And like government contracts, and yeah, I'm not going to go into any more detail other than that, but it was just funny. He started off the conversation saying he knew information he couldn't tell me, and then after I had just accepted that fact, he just started telling me all the information he told me he couldn't tell me. And then last night I had dinner at Suzette's, which is a place that I went to when I got my AC compressor done in Wheaton. I had brunch there. So I liked that so much that I wanted to come back and try their dinner menu. And they have a lunch menu too. I'm like, I know that kitchen fucking hates their ownership. They have 3 different menus. So I went back there and I got Parisian gnocchi as the appetizer. And then I got a side of French onion soup, which is really, really good there. It's the best I've ever had. And for my dinner, I got duck confit. Phenomenal. And then for dessert, I had apple pie and a cappuccino. 10 out of 10. And then afterwards, I wanted to go to a bar, and there was only one. And it's like a speakeasy. And I couldn't find it. There's a couple that was walking around, too, that couldn't find it either, because I kept seeing them look confused like I was. And we all ended up in, like, this alleyway. At this, like, by these dumpsters, and there's this obscure door. And you ring the doorbell, and they let you in, but it's just like it looks like a little lobby of like a New York apartment. Like there's nothing there. It's just an elevator and a couple doors, and then a sign on the wall that says this floor, this suite, this suite. Here's what's there. And there was no bar on the fucking sign. So I'm like, what is going on here? So we get on the elevator, and there's a button for the basement, but there was no basement listed on the sign. So we go down in the basement, and lo and behold, that's where the fucking bar was. It's like a It was like a high-end like cocktail bar, you know, and it was hidden. And there's like private rooms everywhere. It's reservation only. But I was like, it's just me and I just want a couple of drinks and then I'm out of your hair. And they're like, all right, you can sit at the bar. And I just got a couple bourbons. I got their barrel picks on, they had a Four Roses and a Old Forester. So that was all very good. It was very impressive just watching them work. And then this morning was the most interesting. So for like, there's been a lot of videos where I've like passively mentioned that Jessica's been wanting to go get a alcoholic milk drink. And so that's what we went and did this morning. So I went into this expecting that we were going to a restaurant and this was just a normal traditional Mexican drink that you ordered from a person. Imagine my fucking surprise when we drive 40 minutes into the country and we arrive at a fucking farm. And how do I even explain what's going on? It's 8 o'clock in the morning and it's basically a barn party and everyone is wasted. They're basically curing their hangover from the night before by drinking today excessively. And it was awesome. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Let me break it down for you. We show up at this barn, we park the car, and, you know, there's mud everywhere, there's a pig, there's chickens all over the place, there's 2 peacocks just chilling, there's cows, it's a barn. There's no delusions about it. And you get in line, and what ends up happening, you can get plastic cups, but I bought a clay mug from, they import them from Jalisco. And the reason you get the clay mug is because when you get the drink, here, let me just walk you through it. So there's a variety of different things you can add to the drink that are on what's essentially like a lemonade stand made out of wood, very crudely constructed. There's sugar, brown sugar, instant coffee, Nesquik, chocolate and strawberry, and a couple other things that I didn't recognize visually. So I just told Jessica to give me whatever she's having. So we ended up getting, I got like 2 spoonfuls of sugar and a spoonful of instant coffee or 2. And then they give you like 2 ounces of just grain alcohol, like Everclear. And then you take your mug full of all that shit and you walk over to either a goat or a cow. And the goat had already stopped producing milk at 8 in the morning, tapped out. So we go over to the cow, and what they do is they light your cup on fire with the alcohol, and it heats up the clay mug. And this is why you don't get plastic, because it heats it up for you. And when it's hot, you extinguish it with the milk straight from the udder, and you fill up the cup. Go fucking figure. I thought we were going to a restaurant and we were going to sit down and order this, like, this weird drink. No, you go to the middle of a barn in the middle of the morning at a party, and you have your on-fire alcohol extinguished with milk straight from the udder. And I know that all sounds like off-putting, but it was one of the best drinks I've ever had. One of the best experiences I've ever had. We just sat there, we drank our drink, they had a banda come and play like mariachi music essentially. and the lead singer would like stand up on these picnic tables and like just pour tequila into people's mouth. I'm the only white person there, by the way. And everyone's drinking that stuff. There's kids everywhere. They're like giving the kids like rides on ponies, and the kids are drinking the shit too, probably without alcohol, but maybe because like it's not a business. This is somebody's home, somebody's farm, that it's cash only. There's no taxes. They're, you know, they're not IDing anybody. But the whole thing was fucking insane. And then I also got tacos de lengua, which is tongue. And I had a cup of, I forget the name of it, but it was all very good. And it was just sat there, you know, got a little tipsy because it's like 2 ounces of grain alcohol in fresh cow's milk with a little bit of additives. And you just listen to music and people dance and scream and sing, and it was a great time. When I buy property, I'm throwing these parties because I have not ever heard of anything like this. And I sent a couple of videos to my Mexican friends back in Lexington. They didn't appear to be aware of any of that going on. But yeah, when I get property, I'm throwing these kind of parties. Maybe like one Sunday morning a month. It was great. And then today, amidst all of my normal errands, I went and had lunch at Schnitzelplatz, which is a German place here. And I got a cup of goulash, a beer flight, tried all 8 of their beers that were on their taps. For my main course, I had Jaeger Schnitzel, which is a pork schnitzel. And then I got Spätzle on the side with just French fries as well. And that was all very good. But yeah, since I'm not going to be going to restaurants really anymore, I decided to go to a bunch of restaurants this weekend. All over the map. You know, down to, you know, French Louisiana, to France, to Germany. You know, just all of the food. It was all very good. So now I'm just at the laundromat chilling, finishing what I have to do to prepare for the week. If I counted correctly, the Christmas holidays, when I'm turning all of my stuff back on, is 15 weeks away. So that's the new countdown I'm going with. The old one, I kind of just stopped doing because I kept having to do repairs and stuff on my car that kept getting more expensive, and it kept pushing my date back and back further and further. So now I've just decided, instead of trying to put a date on when I'm going to have all of that stuff done, I'm just going to have a date on when the holidays are. And we'll see where I am at in my project. By that time, I should have all of the money raised for the purchase of the truck itself. And then I should have the bare bones ready to go on insulating it and installing the solar system on it, so that I can have the heater ready to go, which is the main thing you need for winter to live out of a vehicle. But in order for me to order the solar system parts, I have to size it. So over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be thinking about all of the electronical components that I want in the vehicle at completion. And then I have to size my inverter and the number of my solar panels, and you know, my charger controller and everything based off of how much wattage I'm going to be pulling, you know, at one time. So that's what I'm going to be doing the next few weeks over my weekends. But this coming weekend is Oktoberfest in Peoria, which is, I think, the biggest or one of the biggest in Illinois. So I'm probably going to go check that out. Peoria is a little bit away, but since I get off work at 2:30 now on Friday, I can go straight there, find a place to sleep, and then wake up the next day and, you know, go drink some Bavarian beers. And then the week after that, I went ahead and signed up for my classes for getting my FOIC card and my concealed carry permit. Because clearly with what's been in the news lately, things are starting to get a little spicy in the big cities. And I have a knife and a big metal pipe in here. I can defend myself if need be. But I would like to have my gun on me. You know, because I already spent hundreds of dollars on my firearms and all of the modifications that I did to it. And it's just not with me at all because it's illegal here, because the laws are dumb. Which doesn't make it makes no fucking sense if you think about it, because criminals already are not going to follow the law. So when you make laws against gun ownership, the only people that are going to follow them are law-abiding citizens who are basically then just losing the ability to defend themselves against the people who aren't going to obey the law in the first place. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm not going to get too far into the whole fucking political spiel, but I severely disagree with gun laws, especially the ones in Chicago, because clearly they're fucking working. It's like murder capital of the United States. Clearly the gun laws are working. I also at the store today got a pillow, an actual pillow, for the first time, because I've been having some problems. Some days I wake up and my neck's stiff and it's in pain, because I basically sleep with just a little airplane travel pillow back there. But now I have a full-size regular pillow, and I'm super excited to try that out after I get done with my laundry and I go down to Romeoville and sleep before work. But yeah, now my weekends mostly are going to consist of me probably going fishing, checking out, hiking trails. I have a rucksack in my storage unit. I would like to start loading it up with some serious weight and going on some, some hikes. I like doing that. And then probably take my camera out too and start taking photos of the scenery and the places that I go, now that I've kind of understand the ins and outs of, how to get the proper exposure by adjusting the shutter speed, the ISO, and the aperture, thanks to Rob Raymond. I'm not sure if I'm expecting Jack Raymond to come visit like I was planning on. I haven't talked to him. I know he had some things come up that were expensive, so he's probably not coming anymore. It's probably slipped his mind entirely, honestly. He's a busy dude. But I think that just about does it. With that being said, if you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you should probably do that. And if you don't know how to, ask someone in your family or a friend who does. Because tonight, when I go to sleep, marks the beginning of me not communicating with anyone through this magic rectangle sitting in front of me. I'm still going to make these videos. I'm still going to post them, but I am not posting them on any of my social media. I'm deleting the apps off of my phone, not deactivating the accounts, just taking the apps off my phone. So I'm not even going to be able to post them on Instagram or Facebook. So if you want to keep in contact and you see this, you can, and you have my phone number, you can still text me, or if you have my parents' phone number, you can text them and get my phone number. You can still send me messages. I'm just not going to respond. And if you want to send me your address, then I will do my best to write you a letter and send it off. But with that being said, you are one person getting a letter from me, and I'm probably going to be one person getting a letter from many people. So if you're expecting me to respond to you hastily, it's probably unreasonable expectation. But I'm going to do my best to write back. I might even start working on my cursive. If you can't read it, I'm fucking sorry. But yeah, I think that's about it. I guess tune in next week for Oktoberfest in Peoria. Peace out.